course they're in space. If there's anything ongoing franchises should teach you, it's that when you're out of ideas, you always go to space. And I'll be honest, I don't know what I was expecting with Ice Age 5 Collision Course. Actually, no, that's not true. I did have an idea, and I know that sounds strange, but looking at the poster and the teaser, I did get kind of an idea what this film was about, or so I thought. That little wily crapoli finds a UFO and goes flying into space, and I just sort of assumed the rest of the animals would get on there and have a weird space adventure. I don't know, makes about as much sense as anything else, but now the film weirdly doesn't go that crazy. But it also doesn't go very subtle either. Like I said, that squirrel ballsack does find a UFO, but also manages to hit a meteor that's heading straight for Earth. Simon Pegg's character, Buck, returns and sees the meteor and knows exactly what this means. The literal end of the world, as apparently this has happened quite a few times and is surprisingly well documented. Understandably, the animals don't want this to happen, so they try to figure out a way to locate where it's gonna land, or what seems to be calling it, as there's some sort of weird magnetic rock that's calling to it, and do you really care? It's Ice Age 5, I don't think the people who made it care that much, and I don't think you do really either, and okay, as movies that clearly don't have to exist go, this isn't the worst, but I don't actually think I can say it's good either. You kinda know my thoughts on these movies. I don't really get that offended by them, but I don't really get that into them either. Honestly, there's only been one that I've enjoyed. I think at this point, a lot of people who see these Ice Age movies can agree, really all it has to do is be passable and not that annoying. And sadly, it doesn't always succeed at that. I will say there are a few pros though. This is probably the best looking animation I've seen out of any of the movies. I mean, good God, compare the first film to this film. The textures, the lighting, the layout of the shots. This is just a completely different franchise now in terms of how it looks. For a series kind of about evolution, it is nice to see this animation evolve. It's really nice seeing Simon Pegg return because he is the one bit of energy that for the most part gets continual laughs. Even when he's doing very predictable slapsticky stuff like fighting dinosaurs but singing a little song to it. That's not really anything that new, but when he does it, it just adds a lot of bouncy, surreal joy. I can't explain it. There's just this unique energy around him and this character, and I always love whenever he's on screen. I can't forget how crazy he was too. Like, I love when he's trying to tell everyone about the meteor, and then when they say, does anyone oppose leaving the place? And he shows up dressed like a woman and says, I do! And when they're wondering what's going on, he just says, I can't help it, I love to play devil's advocate. That is just so odd, I gotta laugh at it, I can't help it. Wanda Sykes once in a while does get a laugh too, being the old senile grandmother. She does have one bit involving lightning that really made me laugh hard, maybe the hardest in the movie. Aside from that, everything's kind of on autopilot, which again, if you've watched these films, you're probably used to by now, but there's some real annoying additions in this. Like Neil DeBuck Weasel is a character in this. Yeah, you'll never guess who voices him.
Space rocks? Magnetic. Asteroid? Also magnetic.
Manny's new son-in-law is pretty annoying, and I've liked Adam DeVine and other stuff, but I just don't feel like they gave him the proper direction here. He got my nerves really quick. But not as quickly as these two. Oh my God, I remember liking these characters fine when they first showed up, I think in the second one, but good Jesus have they overstayed their welcome. I don't think there's one funny line out of these two. They never move the story forward, which I wouldn't need if they were funny, but they're not even that. They just crash everything to a halt to do some really loud, high-pitched voices, and yeah, I know I'm a guy who's also done some loud, high-pitched voices, but I switch it up a little bit, man. These two are just one note, and it's a bad note. I give credit they're trying to give all the characters arcs in this, but they just keep adding more and more characters, and at some point, you just can't juggle them all. You have Manny and Ellie worrying about their daughter and getting married and living on her own, that is, if they survive the meteor. You got Sid trying to find a girlfriend, and that doesn't really even come back into the story until, like, near the end. You got Denis Leary and Jennifer Lopez wondering if they want to have kids, which I think it's kind of cool they got Lopez in this movie again. I mean, like, they didn't have to. They could have just, like, written her out or only had her do a couple lines, but I do kind of feel like that's what happened. It's like she disappears for a while. Like, you see her there, but she almost never talks. I think they could only afford her in the studio for like a day or something. And they try to throw in even more characters, like there's these dinosaurs that are trying to hunt them down, and they try to throw in some family turmoil with them. There's this kind of new age hippie place that discovered the Fountain of Youth, and yeah, there's quite a few of them, and they try to give them all weird, wacky personalities. Even that roadkill chipmunk didn't get many laughs out of me. It keeps cutting back to him in that UFO, and all I'm thinking is, man, wouldn't it be funnier if they were up there in space? I mean, I know that's crazy and weird, but if you're gonna introduce this concept anyway, why not go all out with it? So yes, the film isn't awful. Like I said, I've seen far, far worse, but it's another one of those where you kind of feel like they're just not bringing their A game in terms of the writing, or at the very least, they're just trying to get a paycheck and move on to something that has more substance to it, because you just can't add much more substance to this idea. I don't even know if there was really that much to begin with. I know the series has a following, and fair enough, it's not like an awful series or anything, it doesn't grab me, but I get why people like it. But does anyone really say, man, Ice Age 5, the one where they go into space, that's the best one, that's the one where everything just explodes with quality? I certainly don't, and I doubt there's many out there that do. But yes, I did laugh here and there, and once in a while there is kind of a nice visual or a creative idea. It just feels like a franchise that ran out of steam, and again, in my opinion, I didn't think there was much steam to begin with in the first place. It's not the worst film, but it's definitely, hopefully, the last one.